My pranam and namaskar to all the speakers before me, and a particular namaskar and special thanks to Mr. Shubhajit Dotto for organizing today's webinar. And a very, very happy Independence Day to all the Indians who are participating in today's session. Today's topic is the benefits of yoga in lifestyle management. At the very beginning, I know that many of you are practicing yoga for years now, and some of you may be new, but I would like to give a general background idea about yoga. Yoga, as an ancient way of life, has existed in India since time immemorial. It has its origins in the Vedas. Documented history of yoga is more than 10,000 years old. So today we will be dealing with this topic of lifestyle management through yoga. Since life has existed in this planet, attempts to cope with the exigencies of time has always been there. So this concept of lifestyle is not new. Ancient and traditional societies also had their own lifestyles. What we see in the contemporary world around us is that though there has been momentous development in medical science, but lifestyle diseases and physical and emotional health issues have increased manyfold. Herein comes the role of yoga as an ancient wisdom of holistic healing. Though modern medicine can cure and control many diseases, but it cannot give us peace of mind or happiness or a general sense of well-being. So, yoga's promise is not only to cure physical disease, but to uplift our level of the mind, to uplift us to a state of a blissful consciousness. Yoga not only cures our physical disease or make us flexible, but it develops the human potential that remains inherent within us. The peace and quietness that we gather within us through the practice of pranayama, dhyana, yoga asanas helps us improve on our interpersonal relationships, our communications in personal and public spheres. Thereby, it reduces conflicts among us and develops more cooperation and ensures lasting peace within and without. See, we always think of health insurances, right? And whenever we buy some instrument for our home, we always think of its maintenance, isn't it? How you will maintain that instrument in order to get the desired output from that instrument. So your body and mind is also an instrument. For to get the desired output out of this body and mind, we need to think of certain maintenance of this body and mind. So we all have health insurances. So these health insurances which we buy is actually, it is very good, it is very judicious decision, but it will only come into help when you have lost your health, when your health is not there with you, when you have fallen sick. But yoga is our real health insurance, because if we do yoga from before, then it will work as a preventive healthcare system. So at that time, you will remain happy and you will remain healthy if you practice yoga. So yoga is our real health insurance. Now I will come to the definition of yoga as per the Shastras. So there are many definitions of yoga. I will choose one, that is as per Patanjali Yoga Sutras. He says, yoga, Maharishi Patanjali says, yoga chitta vritti nirodha. That means yoga is the cessation of the fluctuating activities of the mind. Now, why I am using this definition in today's talk? Because today we are going to discuss about lifestyle management. So there are two parts. One is the physical part of lifestyle diseases and emotional disorders that we face nowadays. And later on, I would conclude by a broader perspective of lifestyle. So when we say yoga, chitta, vritti, nirodha, that means yoga is the cessation of the activities of the field of the mind. Why? See, we have so many thought waves coming all through the day in our mind. So many desires cropping up in the mind. All the desires are not fulfilled. When these desires, we are unable to fulfill these desires, when these desires are not fulfilled, then irritability, anger, all these things crop up within us. Isn't it so? Even if we are able to fulfill certain desire, suppose you buy a very expensive jewelry, you buy a very good car, then again, you will have always a looming fear of losing it. That what will happen to this if I leave my car outside, if someone draws a scratch on it, if it meets with an accident, and when you have to pay the EMI in the lockdown, then this temporary sense of happiness is gone. So our mind is always torn apart with the desires. Some are fulfilled and some are not fulfilled. So when these are not fulfilled, they give rise to different anger and irritability issues within us. Even when it is fulfilled, later on we will find that it gives rise to certain sort of a irritation within us. You may be happy at the beginning, but later on, as I explained, it will be some sort of an irritant within you. When this continues for long, the prana flow, the energy flow, the flow of the life force energy within the nadis in the body, the energy channels in the body gets disturbed. When this gets disturbed over years and over months on a regular basis, then disease crops up in the body systems. So the disease, as per yoga, comes from the subtle to the gross. Most of the diseases, not all of the diseases, most of the lifestyle diseases. We are only focusing on the lifestyle diseases. Okay, like insomnia, migraine, cardiovascular diseases, and then you have arthritis, many diabetes. So there has been immense research to show that all these diseases have their origin, some of these diseases have their origin in the mind. It's a psychosomatic, not only bodily, but with the mind. So today we have made a lot of progress in the physical material world. But that is one side of the brain. If we are asked to keep quiet for some time, if we are asked to sit without doing something for some time, then we will find that how restless we become, how irritated we become, right? Because we haven't developed the other faculty of the mind. Our mind has two faculties. One is action, another one is rest or relaxation. We have activated one part of the brain so much that the other part has become dormant. So these diseases gradually crop up in the body. This is as per yoga, some of the diseases as I mentioned. Then yoga gives us a very holistic way of treatment. Its approach is much more holistic. Before I go into this, let me tell that the disease, when it is at the level of the mind, is called the adhi. And when it is level at the body, when it comes with a gross manifestation over a period of time, it becomes vyadhi. Okay? Now I was saying that yoga is a much more holistic approach of healing. In yoga, we say that this gross physical body is divided into different layers of our existence. One is the Annamaya Kosha, the gross physical body that you can see, which is made up of flesh and bone. This gross physical body. This is maintained by the food grains. That is why it is called the Annamaya Kosha. So your bones, your flesh, muscles, fats, and everything, organs which are made of this. But this Annamaya Kosha, the gross physical body, cannot do anything on its own. It runs on the basis of the energy provided by the Pranamaya Kosha. So beyond the Annamaya Kosha, more important is the Pranamaya Kosha, or the level of the energy body. Okay. This Pranamaya Kosha is bigger in size than this Annamaya Kosha. So it extends beyond this body also, as well as within the body. So all the movements of the fluids within the body, the blood, the pumping of the heart, the blinking of the eyes, all these things happen because of this prana in the body. When the prana moves out of the body, This gross physical body remains for long, but no movement, no action happens. Everything becomes still. So this energy body is very important, which is maintained through pranayama. So this is our second layer of existence. So yoga divides and goes into a detailed understanding of our levels of existence, and the treatments that we do in yoga are dealing with all, curing all these levels, healing all these levels of existence. Then after the pranamaya kosha comes the manomaya kosha, the level of the mind, the existence level of the mind. See, in the mind there are thought waves going on all the day. So as you think, and it influences the pranamaya kosha. So when you're angry, you will find that your breath is short and very fast. When you're relaxed after meditation, your mind is calm, you will find that your breath is automatically becoming very deep and subtle. So your breath and mind, these two are very, very closely related. The breath is the connection between the gross physical body and the extremely subtle mind. The breath connects these two. In the Manomaya Kosha, the activities, all these things keep happening. All the day you have so many thought waves coming and going. As the thought waves keep coming and going, so you act according to the thought waves. And when you act according to the thought waves, certain reactions generate. Suppose you think that you will do some exercises, you go for jogging, you go for walking. So the reaction is that you lose some calorie, you feel good. Then the thought comes that you will eat a lot of sweets. When you eat a lot of sweets, after some time you feel that there is indigestion, you don't feel like eating anything. So this is the reaction. The thought originating, you are taking some action, and then you are getting the reactions also. So this is the work of the Manomaya Kosha, the mind. Beyond the mind is the Vijnanamaya Kosha, the intellect. What this Vijnanamaya Kosha does is that the mind makes Sankalpa Vikalpa. That means there are always thoughts coming and going. Mind cannot decide on its own. It is with your intellect that you decide which thought should be followed and which thought should be rejected. What is to be done and what is not to be done. That you decide with your intellect. That is called the Vijnanamaya Kosha. That is the activity of the Vijnanamaya Kosha. So we all have these levels of existence in a very subtle way. They keep functioning all through the day. And we don't understand this. This is so subtle in their function, but they exist. Beyond the Vijnanamaya Kosha is the Anandamaya Kosha. So when we transcend all these levels of existence through regular practice of yoga, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, then we enter into a state of blissful consciousness where you are happy without any reason. In real life, what happens in your material life, to be happy, you need some external things, instrument, to be happy. Otherwise, you're not happy. To be happy, you need to have your family, you need to have your friends, you need to have good food, you need to have good house, you need to have good salary, you need to have good job, you need respect in society. All these things are there. And then we feel happy. That is also for a very small amount of time. But this Anandamaya Kosha, when we reach this state, it is very difficult to reach that state. But when we reach that state, many people in India, many sages, many rishis, they have reached this state. Then there is a blissful consciousness, bliss, pervading happiness without any reason. There is no reason for this happiness. Okay. So the approach of yoga is much more holistic, much more deep. First practice what we see in yoga is asana. Okay. So most of you are acquainted with this. There are many other practices in yoga prior to asana. But as most of you are acquainted with this practice, so I will speak little bit about asana, pranayama and dhyana, and then we will go into a demonstration. Because yoga is an experiential truth. So asana is the yogic postures which you can hold for long without difficulty, without any vibration or difficulty in the body, right? So asanas, they help clean the energy channels which are called the nadis, and the plexus, the meeting place of the nerves and the organs and the glands. These all are arranged in a straight line within the body, most of them. So the asanas focus in purifying these plexus within the bodies, which are also called the chakras. The asanas also help us develop a stability and balance of mind and consciousness. When you practice an asana, suppose you are standing in one leg or you are being in a difficult position. So gradually you are practicing for many years. When you follow the instruction of the teacher, if the teacher instructs you properly, what you have to understand is that despite the posture being difficult, you dissociate your mind from the posture and you observe your own consciousness, your internal state of mind, the blissful consciousness. So you are asked to observe your breath during the asanas. Gradually you proceed in this way. And there are other ways in which gradually when you become steady in the asana, what happens, even if there is difficulty in the body, your mind is calm. So this you apply in your real life situations also. When there are difficult situations around, you are calm and quiet. Moreover, at the physical level, we are generally used to using our body muscles, joints in a linear fashion. Suppose when you are walking, when you are jogging, when you are swimming, whatever you are doing, you are using your body in a linear fashion. But in the asanas, there are many postures, there are many twisting, bendings, and even turning your body upside down. So we will demonstrate some of them today. So in this posture, what happens? The energy relation between the organ systems also change, So in many of the asanas, you will find that your heart is above and your brain is down. Generally, this never happens. Whatever exercise you may do, your head is up and your heart is down. But in many of the asanas, what you find is that the entire energy relation between the organ systems change. So the asanas are very important practice in yoga. They are not only meant to do scalability. This is a very small understanding of yoga, but they have a profound impact on our entire existence, as I have explained. After we perform asanas, then we are to perform pranayamas. Pranayamas are the prana means the energy, life force energy, and ayama means to the length we can hold the life force energy within the body. So pranayama is very important in curing many lifestyle diseases, but the most important effect of pranayama is on our mind. To calm the mind, people who suffer from stress, anxiety, depression, all these type of disorders, if you do pranayama regularly, even anger issues, irritability issues, these are very big problem nowadays. So many relationships get spoiled because of this. So if you practice yoga properly, asanas, pranayama properly, you'll find that your mind becomes calm. And when you experience this calm over a period of time on a regular basis, you develop on this very deep experience you develop. At that time, you don't want to disturb your calm. So you don't enter upon into conflicts. There is more cooperation in your life. Okay? After pranayama, we go into the practice of dhyana, that is meditation. Meditation is the seventh stage of yoga. It is a very deep experience of yoga. It is the experience of the consciousness, the experience of the being is dhyana, where you experience your true self. Okay? So, how many times I am using this word called experience? So you can understand that experience is very important in yoga. So how many times, even if I say that sugar is sweet, sugar is sweet, sugar is sweet, even if you write it 1,000 times, you will not understand. But once you put it in your mouth, you understand that moment. Yoga is like that. It is experiential truth. It is anubhuta satya. So once you do it, you experience it for yourself. At that time, you can realize all that I have said. So now we will go into the practical experience of yoga. And after this experience again, I will conclude by saying certain other aspects of lifestyle, other than the physical disease part, certain other aspects of lifestyle which were enumerated in the Yoga Sutras, as part of ancient ways of living. People were much more happier at that time and had a balanced state of mind, right? So at the end, I will speak on them. Now we will go into the experience part where we will demonstrate certain chalan kriyas, that means certain warm-ups, okay? And then we will do certain asanas and dhyana, meditation, okay? So all of you, wherever you are, you sit easily and comfortably, and you can do it if you are fit and flexible. If you have any disease, you can just see it or do it as much as you. Okay. Gradually close your eyes for some time and relax. Gradually close your eyes. Let us get ready for the practice. Yes. Shara education. It is Shara education.